Hello, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass, and this is, as usual, Dr. G's ADHD Chat, a show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. If you haven't been here before, I'm a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist. I'm also the father of two ADHD kids, and I'm married into an ADHD rich family. Uh, Today, I'd like to talk about one of the big complaints that usually it's older kids and then it's all the way through adulthood. Boredom. Oh, this is so boring. I can't make myself do this. Oh, this is so bad. I can't. It's boring. Oh man, it's so boring. And that goes everywhere from an assignment that you've been assigned it or that your child has been assigned in school, all the way to adults who keep changing jobs because they get bored with it. They have a lousy work history be just because, oh man, you know, at first it was sort of interesting, but now it's just boring, the same old thing over and over and over and over and over. Okay, well, like most things, you can just say, well, that's just the way ADHDers are. It's just, one of the characteristics is they get bored easily, But you still got to live in the world with the rest of the people there, with all those neurotypical souls floating around. And you've got to figure out how to handle boredom. Okay. Ideally, you can fit yourself with an interest, a career that uses that interest, and you're never bored because you're always doing something new and challenging that you have control over. And that is that is really the goal of an ADHD or looking for a job. Is you've got to uh, be in a situation where you have some say about what you do, or you're going to be miserable, or you're either that or you're going to make other people miserable on the job. So know yourself first. And if you're an adult, you should know what your interests are, what turns you on, that sort of work related. I mean, and how to tailor your career so that you're always doing some more creative things. As the parent of an ADHD kid, there's only so much you can do. I mean, there are private schools, I'm not going to plug anybody in particular, but there are some schools that are more focused on learning by projects, I think is the buzzword currently, but it's Montessori has been using that basic technique for as long as there's been Montessori, basically. You might want to do that with your child. That gives them a chance to shine. Like my young man was always best at these tech kind of oriented project thingies and contests representing his school because it required novel problem solving, and he was a champ at that. That's the ideal is to engineer yourself, your life, your child's life, so that there's as little what would be objectively measured as boring. 3 pages of homework problems. It's kind of boring. Having to figure out the angle to cut your beams to do a peak roof, that might be a little more interesting. That might keep you going. Again, I always tell, I used teenagers. We're famous for this. When am I ever going to use geometry? How am I ever going to use trigonometry? That's craps. I don't need to do that. And I said, well, just watch This Old House and watch old Tom Silva and see how much math he uses. He's a craftsman carpenter person, and he uses a lot of math principles and stuff right there where you can see it and your child can see it. And even your surly teenager will have to admit that, darn, using a lot of numbers and stuff and a lot of tricks to measure angles and things. Very, very interesting. Okay, but yeah, so the first thing is to engineer it as much as you can so that it works out. Remember, we're trying to be strategic here all the time. I don't always mention it, but it's always about strategic, which is, strategic is that you've planned, you've looked at it, you've measured it, you've thought about it. Da, 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 da. Tactical, you're just reacting to the situation, and tactical is it's necessary, but it's long term. You'll always lose out to the strategic planners. Okay, so something is boring. Okay, a technique, it's in the cognitive behavioral world, but basically I was doing this in school for a long time. It's just find something to hang on to in the thing you have to do. Oh God, this is so boring. Or my favorite thing was, damn, where did this guy learn to write? This is horribly boring. And then, so I had to figure out, well, how do I convince myself to do this? How do I make it so that it's okay to do this and not be just killing me all the time, or worse, making me angry? I'm besides the name, I'm mostly Scotch Irish, and I'm man with a little bit of French and a little bit of Welsh and a little bit, it is not. Well, let's just say my temper can be interesting. Let's put it that way and leave it. But so you find some reason to do this. Well, if I do this, I'll know what to talk about in class tomorrow. Or if I do this, I can get that part of it out of the way, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. Or some reason, something that, and a reason within the task itself to do it. And then the next thing is always some kind of a reward for doing it. Okay, if I finish this task tonight, I'll hit the rocky road, the ice cream, I mean, or I'll reward myself with a new baseball glove tomorrow, or a new putter tomorrow, or something. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. Putter's probably out of a little bit more than we really want to be talking about, but just some activity or something that you're going to do later. You're going to defer it now, but you're going to do it later as a reward for completing this task. Another thing is look at the challenge part of this. Well, they think I can't do this, so by George, I'm going to show them. And like I said, reward yourself. And then, like I also said, find some interest, some reason to do this. There's got to be a reason, at least a theoretical one, that they're making me do this. Or, same in the job, there's got to be a reason the boss needs this. What is it? And how can I use that to make myself stay focused on it long enough? Other things, sometimes it's just getting started. It's just, you're sitting there, you're thinking, oh, geez, this is not blah, 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 blah. So sometimes you just keep putting it off because it's so boring. So sometimes you can kind of trick yourself a little bit by, say, setting a timer for 10 minutes. Say, okay, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to take a break. Well, then I'll do it again for another 10 minutes. And the break, it can't be, it got to be about 10 minutes or less, so I'll take a break. Then I take a walk around the block for 10 minutes, and then I'll come back and get started again. A lot of times just getting you started, and make it small enough. I mean, some people have even used like 2 minutes. I'm going to do this for 2 minutes. Then I'm going to stop and stand up and move around a little bit. Something like that will help you. And sometimes once you get yourself started, it doesn't matter if it's boring or it's as exciting as can be. It is good enough that you will continue. Sometimes you don't even, when you get to the time where you could stop, you say, oh, what the heck, I'm doing it. I might as well just keep going. Great, great. I think in general, people don't really plan their tasks. Kids don't plan their homework. You just keep doing it till it's done. Well, yeah, but by the time you've done 3 hours in a row, you're kind of getting wagged out a little bit. You're not going to be happy about it. So the smart thing is to schedule, for anything, even if you're enjoying it, schedule breaks every 45, 50 minutes or so for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then stand up, take a couple of deep breaths, walk a little bit, do some push-ups, whatever your thing is, and then go back to it a little bit refreshed. That you get more done that way. Okay, when you're just plugging through and your head's getting lower and lower and lower, you're not doing as well as you could. Your brain's just going, oh man, I'm so tired of this. So you want to stay fresh all the time. You don't want to, those of us who have tried all-nighters know that isn't very efficient. That does not work very well. If you're not familiar with an all-nighter, God bless you, sir or madam. But the basic idea is, usually it's a higher level, like high school or college. And I didn't get it done, and I didn't get it done, and I didn't get it done. And now I got to get it done and be ready for tomorrow because there's an exam where I have to turn in the paper or something. So I'm just going to work all night. I'm going to get some no-dos, and I'm going to get a pot of coffee, and I'm going to, but some people use some other things as well, which is not, well, we sort of frown on that, okay? And I've tried it. It really doesn't work very well. And by the time you had, the equivalent of 3 pots of coffee and some kind of stimulant medication, first of all, you can't come down. It takes a while before all that stuff gets metabolized out, and then you can finally get some sleep. So we don't want to be doing that. All-nighters are a bad thing, and they are not efficient. They're not the most efficient use of your time or your child's time. Bad, 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 bad. Okay, other things in general that you can do for boredom. Use meditation. Use some kind of relaxation training, self-hypnosis, meditation, whatever you want to call it. It's, believe it or not, it's all kind of the same thing. It's just the idea that I'll take some time and I'll do whatever it is you do to, for some people, it's just enough to close their eyes and consciously let their muscles relax. Some people, breathing focus is very popular now, mostly because it's really easy to teach and it doesn't require a lot of experience or training. You just, most breathing focus techniques don't even mention diaphragmatic breathing, which I think is wrong. Okay. You want to breathe properly. Breathe from the diaphragm. The diaphragm is that band of muscles that separates your lungs from your intestines, basically. But basically what you want to be doing is when you inhale, your muscles, your abdomen should go out, and your diaphragm drops into that space and helps the inhalation. And then your stomach goes in when you exhale. And what's happening is your abdominal muscles are squeezing, your diaphragm is going up, and it's pushing the air out of your lungs. Okay, that's diaphragmatic breathing. If you want to see an example of that, get a video of Pavarotti getting ready to hit a high C. If you're not familiar, he's an opera singer, has a generous abdomen, to put it mildly. But you watch him, and he's always in a tuxedo with a cummerbund, and you watch him get ready for that note, and he's cranking in air like, so much so that it looks like he's trying to shoot that cummerbund out into the audience. And then, well, obviously the note comes, and he holds it, and he holds it, and he holds it, and he holds it, because he has trained himself. Diaphragmatic breathing is something that trained singers use, and trained actors, and trained athletes even. Problem is, most athletes are not really trained on this, and so they do it wrong. Okay, the only way you can do it wrong is if you inhale like that and then exhale. The little secret is you can exhale faster than you can inhale. Okay, you can get more out than you can get in. Okay, that's why you can blow up a balloon. The deal, though, is that if you do 3 quick breaths in a row, maybe 5, but if you just go, guess what happens? You get dizzy, you get woozy. Okay? If you're trying to calm yourself down, you're trying to get your focus, you want to exhale slowly. That is the most important part of any breathing exercise you do. Breathe out slowly. If you do that by itself helps you relax. And then you're all calmed down. If you're breathing too fast, you'll start to feel lightheaded. You can make yourself pass out. That's basically what a panic attack is. So you counter that with long, slow exhalations. It's great for general anxiety. And by George, it's also great for frustration, boredom, generalized unhappiness, all of those things. It is a great technique to know how to do properly. But there are an awful lot of people teaching just breathe in through your nose and exhale out your mouth, and know nothing about how slowly to do either one, or how to, anyway, the diaphragm works and all this. Anyway, so that by itself a lot of times will work. And that is one of those things you need. That it's a skill, okay? Believe it or not, relaxation is a skill. And so you need to be working on that when you don't need it, okay? Find yourself a nice quiet place. Spend a little bit of time. You don't have to start off, you don't have to do an hour or something. You do it for 5 or 10 minutes, just kind of nice slow exhalation, and let your mind wander where it will. If you're a real visual person, you can have your own little special relaxation spot. Most of the time it's either has something to do with mountains or water. So almost all people that, when you ask them, oh, when I say relaxation, calm down, stay focused, be at peace, and any of those kind of things, I always get a lot of mountain and water, ocean, lakes, babbling brooks, I guess it is. And I guess if they bubble, this probably means they're contaminated. So anyway, babbling brooks, some people, rivers, and you can imagine that while you're trying to relax yourself a little bit, to calm yourself down. And that also helps you to stay focused. And for some people, it's always a reward for doing boring tasks. But either way, it's a skill. It's something you should practice every day. But you don't have to do 2 hours. Like I said, you can do 5 minutes or so, and then gradually work your way up. You're probably going to want to do 10 minutes at least. Like once a day, have one session that's bigger, and use it during the day. Catch yourself. Be aware of your breathing and your tension level, or your arousal level, if you will. Relax that slow that down and be aware of it. Because people are real sloppy breathers, in general. And I was at one time a very sloppy breather, to the point where anytime I was doing something performance based, like speaking, my voice would crack. And when you're 30 years old and your voice cracks, people wonder. But if you do those that kind of exercise, the diaphragmatic breathing, and just breathing focus in general, it helps your voice, it helps your mood, and it helps you deal with tough situations. And pretty soon you become automatically focused on your breathing, I think, and recognize, ooh, going too fast here. I need to slow down. And it's amazing for exercise. If you work it so that when you're doing the tension part of, say you're doing bicep curls, okay? Inhale when it's going down. Exhale when you're making the exertion. Inhale. Exhale. And pretty soon it's just... Anyway, enough about breathing and meditation in general. Other things you can have is somebody that supports you, a coworker, a friend, a classmate. Sometimes the boring tasks can become group projects. I know one of the things we used to do when I was in the Air Force, we were, they have what's called professional military education, but basically it's, you're taking a course and it's usually a pretty intensive thing. They're going fast and they expect you to keep up. But you get together with a group of people that are in your class and you go over the materials that you're going to be tested on and just say, hey, Fred, on page 30, did you see anything that they probably would test us on? And then Fred either did or didn't. And you go through all the material like that. It is a fascinating and fantastic way to cover material. And because you're more active, instead of just sitting there scanning and reading at 100 and whatever it is words a minute, you're actually working with the material. You're thinking about it. And it is a big difference. It makes a big difference in everything. And social support, of course, having somebody else in the same ballpark here and having to play the same game, that's a big help. It feels like, oh, we're all in this together. Yeah, he's having some trouble with it too, or she's having some trouble with it too. And probably one of the last things is if you are have a certain kind of mindset, sometimes setting goals. I'm gonna do all the homework for this one course for the whole week. I'm not going to do it tonight, but I'm for the whole week, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm going to get all that homework done. It's going to be, and when I do that, then I can get my ice cream cone or whatever. Set up things that there are tons of ways of motivating yourself to do stuff other than just saying, get it done. Figure out what your reinforcers are. But that's just a fancy word for what kind of things make you motivated to do stuff that maybe you're neutral about, or maybe even stuff you don't like. What gets you moving to do that? Is it, is there a reward? Is there a way of approaching it? Is there another person that you want to work with that would help? That this means when they get to be teenagers, it isn't always the prettiest girl in school that your son has to work with. Okay, so be careful with that one. But you have a lot of options with all of this. But you got, first of all, you got to know your kid. You really got to know And I know as they get to be teenagers, it gets harder and harder to figure out what they're really into and stuff. But you should have enough experience that that it is. You can at least make a start and then find out if what you're thinking about would be helpful. Of course, when your kid gets to be a teenager, by that time they don't want to listen to mom and dad very much. They want to prove that they can do it themselves. So you need to be starting earlier. When they're 8 or 9 years old, can you see what makes them go? Okay, so basic reward, short time, repeated over and over again. Oh, let's just do the first 5 problems. Oh, let's just read the first 3 pages. Oh, let's break it down into small, manageable chunks. Sometimes a reward is helpful. I don't recommend big rewards. I recommend little things that they probably should be doing anyway, like getting up, stretching, getting up, taking a walk around the house or around the block, those kind of things that they need to do either. I don't recommend $5. Nope, that gets you into trouble because pretty soon they want a Camaro or something. Okay, so there are a lot of things here, and I hope you make use of some of them. And I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras. My website is terrygingrasphd.com. And we got all sorts of changes coming up. I have a podcast now. It's out there in the world. You can get it most places where you do podcasts, like Apple or Spotify or YouTube. And I also publish these on Facebook and YouTube, which is probably where you're getting them now. And we'll be starting a newsletter soon. I'm not going to say exactly when, because I am a subject expert, but I am a tech weezer. For years, all I had to do was know how to do Dragon Speak, and that was the limit to what I needed to know computer-wise. And all the staff people in the office took care of all the other stuff. Now that I'm semi-retired, or maybe I'm just going on and doing other things, but I don't have that luxury. So of people who do it for me, I probably will start getting some of those if I really push this, but want to do that. And if you've got time, I'm thinking about starting a membership group. If you're not familiar with what that means you're it's like a Facebook group, only it's restricted to people who have signed up with me, to do that. And basically we'll do something. There's definitely one session that's basically a longer kind of information session, and then there's another one that's probably a Q&A session. And then probably another couple of things that are more random. But one thing it does is builds pretty good community. You start, there are other people out there who have the same kind of issues you have. So if you just let me know, I'd appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time. And remember, your ADHDer is working in a world that wasn't designed for his kind of or her kind of brain. So they have to make certain accommodations, adapt and adjust. And you have to be able to teach them how to do that. And that means you got to know what to do. So we will catch you next time, and have a good one.